he misses, Steph drops 47 points against an all-time great defense that basically targeted him, and limiting him. And he had to drop, and he dropped 47, 9 and 8. Okay.
Maybe
Um,
like the Steph Curry game in his playoff career.
yeah, that was his playoff career high. But even then, he was always playing for, like, the Warriors were always playing from behind. Like, we never really had a shot in that game. We were always down by 7, 5, 10. Like, it was just we couldn't get over that hump. In that game, we just didn't have the firepower to match them. Danny Green had like 24 that game or something. And then game 4 happens. Steph didn't have a great game that game. Clay came back. He had a really good game. They lose that game at home. So now we're down 3-1. Game 5 happens. KD comes back and he tears his Achilles in the second quarter. But KD had like 12 points in the first. And I'm watching this dude pull up over like Ibaka, Kawhi, like it's nothing. Coming back from a grade 2 calf strain, and I'm in awe. And I couldn't ask for a better, like a more inspiring return the way he came back. And okay, that happens. You can see Steph. He kind of got freed up a bit. Clay got freed up a bit, but then KD goes down, and then that's another time where I'm like, it's over again. Like just like that game 5 against the Rockets, I was like, it's over again. You're in Toronto. You're in Toronto. Your best player goes down. The emotional tax that has. You have a depleted roster. DeMarcus Cousins. So much was asked of him. So that happens, and then Steph. I think he had what, like 30, 31, I think, that game. And Clay had a really good game 5 as well. So we were down by like 8 with like 3 or 4 minutes to go. Nick Nurse doesn't call a time, or he calls a timeout with momentum their way. And then Clay hits a 3. Steph hits a 3 with like a minute to go, and then Clay hits another 3. And then we end up winning that game. We get a few stops. Okay. Then game 6 happens. Game 6 to me is the greatest playmaking performance you'll ever see in your life in terms of off the ball. You could talk about on the ball stuff. And the way I view offense is in 4 subdivisions. You got on ball scoring, off ball scoring, on ball playmaking, off ball playmaking. Now, do I view all those as 25, 25, 25, 25, like a quarter each? Absolutely not. I view on ball scoring as probably more important than off ball scoring, but off ball scoring is still a component. However, the off ball playmaking in that series was the greatest off ball playmaking performance you'll ever see. Because every time they ran a box and one on Steph, basically a large chunk of that game. But even when they weren't, they were running zones, they were skewing and tilting their defense towards
Can
him.
I have some pushback against that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it like, I'm not gonna take away from like Steph's playmaking or whatnot, but
Mm-hmm.
like, is it really like to the level that you're saying it is when Steph is playing with incompetent shooters and offensive players? Like, I get what you're saying. Like, he definitely was seeing a lot of attention,
Are you
but
asking if he
like,
was playmaking like Shea?
no, I'm saying, is it
Shaboing boing
playmaking?
Drew.
I'm asking, is it playmaking when he's playing next to Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala, and what
But
any
it's a
common
combination
defense
of
would
both.
do? You know, I think it's a combination of both. But I'm
Oh
saying
no, I
I
know what you're
can't
saying. You're
then say
saying, of
that's like
course, it
the
makes
best
sense for
playmaker.
Nick Nurse. It makes sense for
Yeah,
Nick Nurse to do that.
I think that's like any team is doing that though. Like, I don't think
So
that's just like specific to that
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Is
I'm
that
just
what
saying.
it?
I agree with you, Ash. But here's the thing: KD didn't see a boxing one, right? The
Yeah,
Celtics
Katie's
ran.
ass. I'm not disagreeing with you, Drew. I'm
Right,
just
right.
saying I don't think that's like the GOAT. Like, I
Wait,
don't personally, I don't think
No,
that's
no,
like
no.
the best
I think it's the
playmaker,
greatest
off-ball
off-ball
playmaker I've ever
playmaking
seen.
performance ever. I think it's the greatest off-ball
Yeah,
playmaking.
we just disagree. I
Yeah,
just think
I
it
would
tends to
say
skew more to
like
the offense
in
or whatever.
support of Dre, like not every offensive player is able to like engage a defense at so many points of
right.
time that Steph can do because Steph's willingness and off-ball ability, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, even if you like put in a guy like Harden, right? They're probably going to run a similar defense. It's just the fact that like with Steph's ability to basically be involved in a play all the time, that's changing like that's increasing the amount of playmaking that's like occurring purely because
Yeah, I'm not
the
disagreeing with that. I definitely think it was very elite all time playmaking. I just personally don't call that game like the best off ball playmaking game I've ever seen, because I think it's just more so common sense and really what any smart team would do, and just leave a team that's playing three non shooters on the court to just leave them wide the fuck open.
It's also the Raptors' forte. They just don't respect role players.
Do you
Like,
feel
they'll never
you
guard
feel-
role players over a star.
So
They
the way
always
I
go
would,
at stars.
do you
I
feel
agree.
that same way about Harden in 2020, Ash, against the Lakers?
Well, yeah, I don't think that's like his best playmaking season.
Okay.
Like
No,
somebody else.
you go with
I
it.
You
agree
know,
with
wait,
all
wait,
these
wait,
points, by the way. I think all these points have credence, but the reason I would say that at least that's the greatest off-ball playmaking performance ever is this. I've seen Steph catch schemes and get blitzed with spacing, with Kevin Durant, with Clay, with Jordan Poole, with Andrew Wiggins shooting 40%.
Mhm.
I've seen Steph catch the same schemes without spacing, like with Alfonso McKinney, with Quinn Cook, with Michael Mulder, with Juan Toscano Anderson. Watch the games against the like the Suns last year. There was a game like he got trapped. He had 21 points, didn't shoot the ball well, but that was a playmaking masterclass. Wiggins had 38. They were just the Suns didn't respect any other player for good reason because the Warriors last year had a very depleted roster, not great, a lot of G League talent on that team, but caught the same schemes. And then so you give Steph spacing and you give Steph non-spacers the same schemes he's gonna catch and the same regardless of talent on the floor, regardless of skill set. Like Tyronn Lue said, we literally targeted the head of the snake, who the most dangerous player is, Steph Curry, when KD and Clay were on the floor, just as Nick Nurse did with Quinn Cook and Alfonso McKinney. So your point, I take it in high regard. I agree with that. But I'm just saying it's very difficult to still create shots when you don't have guys who can put the ball on the floor and you don't have guys that can shoot the ball,
Mm.
even if advantages are created. You know what I'm saying?
But I think that's what
But
elevates Steph, like in earlier seasons when he's playing with actual elite talent and he's still seeing the same coverage. That's why I'm saying I don't really
Right.
care about that Toronto game when they just did not care about like a bunch of G leaguers and like Iggy and Draymond handling the
All right.
ball. You know, I
So
think that's just a little different.
wait, are we still
no,
calling
yeah,
them names?
that's
Or we
fine. That's
just
fine.
like
But
what's
we're
going
talking
on?
about KD and Kyrie, right? So this is now I always looked at it like this. So last year I saw Steph because I'm talking about playmaking. I'm not even talking about scoring. Steph as a scorer, I didn't think Steph could score the ball the way he did, like the way he did last year without spacing, like comparable to 2016. He averaged 32, won the scoring title last year on 66 true shooting without any spacing, like zero spacing. Kent Bazemore, Wiggins, who shot like 37% from three, still respectable, but teams are going to leave him open. Michael Mulder, Juan Toscano Anderson, pre bubble Jordan Poole, and even post G League bubble Jordan Poole wasn't a great player.
Shout out
Yeah,
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre, who shot 1 for 18 in his first first string of games with the Warriors from three. So not a lot of spacing, and yet Steph still managed to win the scoring title. And again, I'm not you. They didn't make the playoffs, so you got to make the playoffs. But and on an individual level, because they told me Steph was nothing without KD. They told me Steph could get his shot off. They told me Steph needed KD for this and for that, and yet he wins the scoring title, 32 on 66. So for me, in terms of individual production, in terms of scoring the basketball and at a productive and efficient level without Kevin Durant, I'm sorry, with spacing and without spacing, I've seen that. With and then do the same thing with playmaking with spacing and without spacing, I've seen that. Now with KD, this is a Steph Curry debate. I don't think KD could handle the box and one that Toronto played as well as Steph did in those finals. Or I don't think KD, like you saw it against the Celtics, it wasn't a box and one, but when you catch schemes, when you get bodies thrown at you, when you see crowds, when you see doubles, when you get trapped off the pick and roll, you have a few decisions to make. Like you can just stand there and kind of quote unquote relocate, like kind of just pedal to the wing, kind of watch whatever ensues. You can be proactive. You can set back screens for players, have guys cut, then you relocate, or you can run a dribble handoff. You can kind of go to the other end of the floor, just kind of curl and allow someone to cook. I see. That's the thing. So Trey Young this year against the Heat, he let
Wait, can
DeAndre
we let
Hunter.
some other people talk or some shit? Real
What's
quick?
up?
Like I just want to say some shit. Like, oh
Oh yeah,
wait,
go
I
ahead.
got a question. Like, yeah.
I
So
think
wait,
like
do we still
myself
got any other? Before I waste
with
my energy, do we still got anybody making the argument for KD? Cause I'm on the Steph side, obviously.
I mean, this
I'm
is
trying to-
age. Niggas just judging KD off age 33, multiple knee, and
No, we
Achilles
I mean,
judging
no,
that
that's
nigga
not what I'm
off his
saying, though.
career and
I
calling
Stop.
that
just
nigga a
wanna,
fraud. That's
I
what we
just wanna.
No, I'm just relax, nigga. Damn,
Yeah,
my
I'm not
dick.
gonna
You
relax.
on
That nigga's
serious?
ass.
Just got the mic.
I'm talking about that fucking the Celtics series. Like, I don't think Pete KD struggles like that versus Boston.
He do
Like,
Nah,
though, bro. He
I
do.
disagree.
Well,
I
he
disagree.
struggled like that
Wait,
against
can I say something?
OKC.
Can I
Yeah,
say
so
something? Can I say
2016
something?
Thunder
against the Warriors.
against the
Yes,
Warriors,
I don't know what you're
exactly
talking about.
low, exactly
Yeah,
low.
but
Can I
let
say
Milk,
something
let
real
Milk,
quick? Can I say
let
something real
Milk
quick
go.
about
Yeah,
KD?
go ahead. Go
All
ahead,
right.
brother.
I think so. While KD is aging, I think the Celtics exposed a lot about his game that a lot of teams back then really didn't notice. KD's first off, he chooses spots to shoot from that he's very good and efficient at. Curry, he can shoot from anywhere. KD, the Celtics forced him to certain spots, which a lot of teams didn't know they could actually do against him until the Celtics came out and did it. So he struggles to shoot from these spots. I guess he don't got enough practice in or whatever you want to call it. But that like exposed a big part of his game. Like if you don't let him go to these spots, he's just not gonna score that efficiently. Curry, he doesn't have those problems. He shoot from anywhere.
I mean, Curry has his spots too. I will.
No, Curry
KD
obviously has his spots, but at the end of the day, if you force Curry, like he's a little dude, like people always force him to certain spots. He's still gonna make the shot most of the
all
time.
right, relax now. That shit, nah, that's not it. That's not
That
Pete.
is it.
He
Though.
was
That's literally what
KD
the
can
Celtics
be
did. The
efficient and
Celtics was.
proficient from any spot on the fucking court.
KD has
That
You
wasn't
say
the
that,
fucking
but then
problem.
so what happened against the Celtics? They were
Cook
Nigga, it
forcing
him.
was
him to
fucking
certain
Cook
bad
spots.
him.
series, bro.
Cook
It was
him.
more to
Cook
that
him.
than forcing
So
KD
it's
to a
not
fucking
about
spot,
ability.
bro. They
It's
were
not about
beating this
ability.
nigga
It's
ass
about
on and off
tendency.
the ball, bro. They were fucking him up physically. On
Who
and that
cares
shit
though? Who
wore
cares? Who
down.
cares?
But even if they're
skinny ass
fucking,
Who
nigga.
cares?
Like,
Who
that's
cares,
we
bro?
don't have to
weird,
have the
man.
Steph,
defense that
Nigga, he's
Curry
not
sees,
saying that.
though.
He's not saying that the prop up KD. He's saying the whole KD has spots and they limited him from getting to those spots thing is like fucking stupid. Cause like
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
every
but that's
spot
exactly
on the
what
floor is
happened.
KD's
That's
spot,
exactly
bro.
what
Okay, he
happened.
had a bad
Guess what? He
series.
didn't go
That's not
No,
what
no,
score.
no, no,
happened,
no,
bro.
no. I
He
agree.
had a
Okay,
bad
so we just called it a
series.
Hold on,
bad
hold on.
series and moving
It's
it
not
on.
about
Then
ability.
that's
It's about tendency. Here's the thing. With the Celtics, KD's offense, first of all, KD can score from anywhere. I've seen him hit wing threes, corner threes, top of the key threes, mid post, elbow, top from the nail,
but
baseline.
those are
Ball
when
He
don't
he
can
stop
shoot
goes
right
from
to
now.
those
anywhere.
spots.
Here's the
Those
thing.
are when he goes to those spots, not when he's forced
Exactly.
to
But
those
he
spots.
can score efficiently there.
Yeah,
No,
but
no, no.
no,
I
y'all
agree. I
y'all
agree.
didn't hear
But
my
here's the
argument.
thing.
I said when he goes to those spots, he can score from. When he's forced to a spot that he doesn't want to go to that possession, he struggles to score.
Here's what KD does. KD's offense originates from certain shot concentrations. I'm not saying that he can't score from anywhere else. I'm saying that when he's in that, like you even saw against the Bucks last year, they didn't beat him to the spot, but PJ Tucker was very physical when KD was trying to get to
What
that
the
spot.
fuck is he talking about versus the Bucks, bro?
No, 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 no.
Kick this nigga the fuck out of here,
I'm
bro.
not talking
Nah,
about.
This
you
nigga was
calm down.
destroying the fucking Bucks.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
gonna listen
That's
to
not
that
what I'm
bullshit, bro.
saying. You're not listening
No.
to what I'm saying. I'm not
No.
saying KD
Let
played
him cook.
badly. That's not what I said. I'm talking about the scheme. What are you talking about? I'm saying that PJ Tucker was physical trying to get to KD's spot before KD got there. That's not what I'm saying. KD still cooked him. That's not what I'm saying.
And
I'm
well,
saying,
yeah, in the final 3 games. Not the
yeah,
first
yeah,
4.
I'm just saying. So the Celtics adopted a
You know who
similar
was there in the final 3 games that wasn't in the first 4?
James
Let
Harden.
me be quiet. Let me be quiet.
Cook,
Let me be quiet.
cook.
Ask James Harden.
So the Celtics basically adopted a similar philosophy but doubled down on it. And they threw multiple guys at KD. They got to certain spots. They
Thank
prevented him
you.
from. Yeah. So the Bucks kind of allowed KD to get to his spots, but they played single coverage and PJ was physical with him. But KD
He still
he
cooked.
still was KD. Like KD is going to
Yeah,
be KD.
if you allow KD, no matter how physical the defense is,
They get
if you
more
let KD get to those spots, KD's gonna do
Right,
KD things.
exactly.
But even if you have a lesser defender, but force him to a spot, he's not gonna do as good. Like you can literally, KD's eyes focus on the spot he wants to go to. Like which a lot of niggas, if you don't watch a lot of KD, you don't realize he looks at the spot he wants to go to, which is weird. And like I don't know how nobody else ever noticed it, but look
I
at some
think it makes.
like
I think
just
it
look
makes
at
more sense
some
though
KD
in the context
gameplay.
of Greece. And I think that what people are trying to argue is just like, if we're really gonna like attribute reasons as to why like the Celtics defense was so much different than every other defense. Like every other defense is trying to keep KD from getting to his hot spots. I don't think like it's a unique trait that the Celtics had. I think it's more like the Celtics are more capable of
Exactly.
switching being physical. I mean, like they just were willing to be physical a lot of the time, and they also showed him more defensive attention than he's usually going to get,
Yeah,
which
they doubled down
others
on it.
are capable of
Correct.
doing. It's just that like this series very specifically, we knew that like the Nets kind of didn't have the greatest roster on them, and the Celtics took advantage of that. So I feel like it would make more sense
Yep.
to me to just say like, hey, KD struggled, and it did expose some of his weaker aspects of his game, but it wasn't like they were doing something really revolutionary. It's more of like they just had the personnel to do what other teams would be doing every game.
Right.
If
They
they
That's
doubled
what
down
I'm
on it.
saying.
Exactly. Facts.
And on and
And
off
I'm
the
saying
ball,
the fact
like
that KD could let that happen is just why he's just not as great as Steph.
here's the thing.
Cook.
nigga,
Cook.
what?
What,
Alright,
bro? Yeah, he just let
Why
that.
he's
But to
cooking,
be,
but low, he's cooking.
but to be fair, to
I
KD
feel like
though, to be fair to KD though, this is probably the first time he's ever even been in that situation for that to even happen to him outside of 2016 against the Warriors. So I think that's the other side of it that we're arguing as well, is that it's really hard for all of us to assess Kevin Durant within his time as within the Warriors as an individual player, because we all fucking know he was in an extremely favorable situation to where he can get off those looks the way that he did, so his numbers look noticeably inflated. But outside of his years with the Warriors, he looks like the player that he is, and it's nowhere near as good as he is in the regular season, nor as it is when he was with the Warriors. And granted, I'm not sitting here saying that of course he was gonna look better with better floor spacing. But when people are making these arguments about KD as the individual in contrast to Kyrie, or really a lot, I mean not Kyrie, in contrast to Curry or even LeBron to an extent, it's that we're talking about this nigga when he was in not only the most talented team in the NBA at the time, but in such a unique circumstance that it really wasn't even fucking fair to assess this nigga that way. But when he was in the other situation, when he was up 3-1 against the same fucking team, he lost. Then this year, when apparently he was supposed to at least compete, the nigga got embarrassed.
I mean, they did compete because they
and
barely fucking lost every game.
They
It was
lost
a,
every
it was
game,
it
nigga.
was
I'm
a
not gonna
sweep.
let you get
It
into
was a
it,
sweep.
bro. They
Like, what
lost
are we
every
doing
game.
here?
What we're doing here is telling you what the fuck happened. That nigga
It
lost
was a
every
sweep.
game.
It was a sweep. It
yeah,
was
and
a
also
sweep.
what I was gonna say is
It wasn't in dominant
another
fashion
reason
though. Y'all like that.
That's what I'm
reason
saying.
for
Like,
But
they
it
got
was a
blew up,
sweep.
but
It was a
Okay,
sweep.
okay, but
I
it
get
It was
wasn't
a
it
sweep.
wasn't in dominant fashion, not because of the Nets offense keeping up, it's because the Celtics offense is just that mid. Like, let's just keep
I
this
mean,
shit a
didn't
buck.
the Nets have a
I don't
pretty
know what we're
solid
talking about.
That's
offensive rating?
fair.
The Nets had a pretty
yo,
solid offensive rating.
they
I'm
had
pretty
a
sure.
No, that was
117. They had a
in the first 2
117.
games they were generating, or well, some of it was shooting luck, but they were generating a good luck.
Yeah,
Wait,
I just want to say too.
from like 5 to 10 feet. I know that.
Another reason KD struggled, was it not because of his like mediocre off ball movement? Like I feel like if he had better off ball movement, he
And
would have
dribbling,
got a lot
and
more
What do
dribbling,
you,
better looks.
what
dribbling.
Be moving
who
more
is
off
he
ball if
who
he
is
had a
he
real point.
springing?
But to be
Yeah,
Well,
that's
for,
you. But
for
to be
okay,
fair
go
though, to
ahead.
that argument is that's another, and I'm not saying that anybody in here is making
KD's
this
a good
argument,
mover. What are we
but
doing?
that's another reason why people are arguing Curry is better. But when we talk about fucking skills, nobody doesn't want to talk about
Wait,
off ball movement
nah, but
being a
low, you
fucking
gassing.
skill.
Bro,
Low, no,
no,
wait,
this
wait,
is
low,
mad.
low, you're gassing, you're gassing.
Okay,
A big reason for his off ball movement looking as suspect as it did in that Celtics series specifically is mainly just because the rest were the rest were just letting Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, Al Horford,
okay.
all them niggas just push him. No, it's fat. We can go. Low, we watched
Yeah,
it
but I know,
together.
but
Me,
is
you, and
this
MV
is
watched
his
it.
all
They
ball
was
movement better
pushing
than
that nigga
Curry's?
through screens. No one is arguing that low, but I'm not gonna let you come up here and argue that this nigga is some mid off ball mover, bro. You're lying.
I'm not
You're
saying
lying.
that. We're all comparing it to Curry. What the fuck is wrong with y'all niggas?
No,
Everything.
nigga, we're talking about.
We're not comparing this
not
nigga to
you,
Jeff
not
Green,
you.
nigga.
I'm not talking about you, nigga. I'm talking about what this nigga just said. We all just heard him. We all just heard him. He said KD lacks an off-ball movement. He's not talking about relative to Steph. He's talking about in general. KD is not some mid off-ball mover. I don't know where the fuck how you could possibly see Al Horford pushing that nigga through a fucking screen, and then you talking about KD can't move off ball. You got it though.
I'm not sitting here saying KD's a mid off ball mover, but in relative or in contrast to Curry, no. And when people have these conversations about skill, and how deep is a nigga Duffy, None of that gets brought up in the conversation, even though we all know that's a part of your offensive skill set. And so when you witness someone lacking in it, even if it wasn't this series, even if you go back to OKC, you can clearly see he's not the same. He's anywhere near close to the off ball mover that Curry is, and that's fine. Curry's literally in the conversation to be the greatest off ball mover of all time, so that's fine. But
Respect
that's a
Kobe.
part of, huh?
So respect Kobe.
I said one of you, nigga. You're such on cock. We're gonna go on somebody else. You're just on the biggest dick I've ever seen in my life. Fuck, and it's my
Wait,
dick too.
really quick.
Okay, okay,
Respect,
no, wait,
respect,
What?
Lo. What are we
Whoa.
doing,
Yo,
bro?
that's a
Wait, wait,
crazy
Touch
statement.
passing?
Lo makes a really good point
He just
though,
came at
because
me.
KD is an elite off ball player, but if Steph's a 10, I think KD's like a 6.5 to 7, and that is the difference between like in the playoffs. It makes a big difference. And let me just also make another point that Lo made, because Lo made a really good point with this. One skill that gets very little coverage is the ability to leverage the threat of your best skill, of your best scoring skill or playmaking skill, and then create other scoring opportunities or playmaking opportunities out of that. Like nobody talks about that. Like, and when you talk about off-ball movement, that is again your ability to move off the ball, right? And I'm not equating that to on-ball playmaking or on-ball scoring, because it's everything is relative. Everything holds different weight, but if a team schemes against you a certain type of way, you have to be able to leverage. So what Steph did was he leveraged his ability to shoot to create for others. Now that's putting it simply. Like there's actions, there's sets that they run to actually do that. And there's ways that he has to improvise in the middle of a game depending on the coverage that he's seeing. However, with KD, he struggles to do that at a more advanced level when he sees certain coverages and actually leverage his ability to score and to shoot over the top of players to create other scoring or playmaking opportunities out of it. I've seen him do it this year. Actually, I think KD's playmaking has taken a
I
step.
mean, I thought KD's passing peaked this
Bro,
year.
wait, time
No,
out.
no, no,
I don't
it
think
has,
it's play.
it has,
I don't
it
think
has,
it's playmaking peaked.
but
Though. I
not
think
to
it's
the
passing
point,
certainly peaked.
but not against elite defenses, not to the point where you could come over,
Not
get over the
against
hump.
elite defenses
But
because
what are you
one
talking? But he
series.
was
Okay.
okay.
That shit is crazy, bro. I'm not
I
gonna lie.
completely disagree with that because
Let
you can just
NMZ
go.
speak.
Well, I'm about to, but you can just go watch that Celtics series where they was putting him in high post actions, running off ball screens for guys like Patty Mills, Seth Curry, and Kyrie, and they were out there bricking. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act as if he's some advanced passer, some advanced advantage creator, and that he knows how to manipulate his scoring with his passing at like anywhere near the level of Steph. But
I
I'm
do
not
think
gonna.
he creates a bunch of advantages, bro.
He does.
Every
No, he does. He
I
does.
said,
every
of course,
every
when I
time
say
they get
elite, I'm
every
referring
time
to Steph.
I know what
I'm
you're saying,
referring to
Ash.
Steph.
I just
He
wanted to
did
back up
against
what
the
you were saying.
Celtics too. To
Because
be fair,
every
Bro,
time
I don't.
every time
I'm
he
not.
gets a post
Yeah,
touch,
I'm
bro.
not saying he
Every
doesn't.
fucking
I'm
time
saying
there's
there's
help.
levels to
There's
this.
pre-help.
I
There's
know,
levels to it.
but you just said he doesn't do it at an advanced level. Like, what do you mean by advanced? Like
So I'm
Steph's
saying
level,
like
or in
he's very
general?
good. He's good. He's good. He's
like
very
Okay,
top
good.
five, like
okay.
top
Five
five.
playmakers.
I don't think
He's
he.
not.
No, of
He's
course
not a
not.
top
No, but
five.
no one thinks KD's even close to that.
Y'all hold niggas to irrational expectations
But
and then all of a
wait,
sudden
I just want to
Nah,
say
we
this.
not. We not Najee.
like, that shit's stupid.
That
Like, why
nigga
the
just
fuck are
not
we
him.
talking about
He
KD being
not
a
him,
top
bro.
five playmaker? Nobody
Wait,
thinks that
Lo.
shit, bro.
No,
Hold on, Ash.
can we get the NMZ, bro? I just want to hear good
Yeah,
NMZ.
Can
let
we
let
get the
go let him
mid
see.
MZ
The
now?
voice of reason. Let the voice of reason talk.
Yo,
That nigga's
y'all
not
are
the
wild.
voice of reason.
Y'all are wild.
The
Listen, I think
voice of East
I actually
Africa.
don't think the KD's off ball movement or lack thereof was the main reason he struggled in that Celtics series specifically. I felt like, and I've touched on this before. I think his physical regression and inability to get to the rim is what hurt him the most. Like if you watch the Celtics defense, they're switching off ball or on ball because people bring up that Bucks series last year in those games where he, scored 48, 50 points, whatever. He was attacking Brook Lopez in high pick and roll too because he knew there was a
Facts.
player on the Bucks that they were unwilling to switch confidently onto him. The Celtics didn't have that. So when KD got the switches against Boston this year, in theory, there should be someone he should be able to attack and get by and get to the rim to collapse the defense. But since his Achilles injury, he hasn't gotten to the rim the same way. So to me, unlike Jimmy Butler and Giannis in the next two rounds, he wasn't able to get by somebody, collapse the defense, and create opportunities for other people.
Or
It was
even
just him kind of dribbling up top. And they pushed him to his left hand, which I thought was just a
yeah.
genius move by Ime. And you saw him get kind of off balance His ball security was exposed a little bit, so on and so forth. And I think that's what hurt Kevin Durant. He couldn't get to the basket, he couldn't collapse the defense, and then he couldn't create opportunities for other people that
And he's
way.
also
And
not.
just the
And
Nets in
he's supposed to
general.
be
My
that
nigga
skilled.
NMZ know hoop for real.
He's
Bro.
not,
Please
and
give him
also
a
he's
follow,
like
And
bro.
people
just
say he's
to
more skilled than
just
I
Curry, and he
literally
can't even
said
dribble with his
age 33 post
playmakers left.
injury.
just to add on to what
Please
NMZ was
follow
saying.
NMZ. That
He's
nigga
also
knows
like
hoop for real.
he's also like
Can I go after you?
yeah,
Fucking crazy shit,
I
boy.
think
Also, I was
I
gonna
also
say,
I also think I think that like unlike Jimmy and Giannis who are just like so big and so physical and strong that like when
Hey, yo. What
a
the fuck?
you're so gay,
Yeah,
bro.
pause. Pause.
These niggas are weird. Anyways, they're like strong, Um, just like they have like girth to
Nigga,
them,
we
you know.
get
So
it,
they
bro.
have
They big. Come
strong
on.
to
did he
them.
just
Yeah,
say Garrett?
damn. We
Just
get it, nigga. What's the next
so
point?
He just
so
said
when they
Garrett.
so when they're you know what I'm saying when they're mismatch hunting, somebody who's largely a very good defender has a very solid base. Someone like Derek White, for example. Jimmy Butler's spending the whole fucking game hunting for Derek White because that is the worst matchup on the floor, and he's smaller than everyone else. He's easier to impose on. And for Giannis, it was basically hunting anyone that wasn't Horford or Williams, and he got not anything he wanted, but he definitely was able to create avenues for himself offensively. There's somebody like KD who just doesn't have that center of gravity or like that core strength can't necessarily attack. Like you saw some of the times that KD got like a post touch on Derek White, and it was like, what the fuck is this nigga doing, man? Like
And
He was
like
getting bullied by Grant Williams. He couldn't dribble past Horford. And one thing about this skill thing, like a big misconception is that KD's this like one of the most skilled ever, right?
He's
But
not.
when you think about
He's
it,
fucking
but when
not.
you think about it, the two most important things of quote unquote skill are handling and passing, or like those are two of the three, right? Dribble, pass, shoot. And KD is arguably like average at two of them. And KD himself has said that
Calling
the
KD
shortest. Hold up. The shortest he said he would make it in the NBA was 6'7". Like he himself thinks he couldn't make the NBA if he was shorter than 6'7". So I don't get why people think he's this like most skilled ever. That's like ridiculous. It's really hard to dribble when you're 7 feet tall. Like it's just
yeah, I was just gonna say though
Also,
that kind of adds to the mystique of Kevin Durant because when you have a fucking 7'3" wingspan, you're not supposed to be able to dribble, bro. Put it simply.
But that don't make him. That don't make him
for a
one of the
7-footer is insane, but you can't qualify. You can't judge on a curve, right? Like
I think you are. I think we are judging on a curve. I think that's
But
pretty
no, I was
fair.
gonna say exactly. I'm saying we shouldn't do that because guys like Chris Paul and them, they're way more skilled. Like to make it to the NBA at 6 feet tall, like like people don't get that.
Also, earlier Ash said people were like, or the Celtics were like being physical on KD when he was trying to move off ball. Does Steph not see that same shit every night? Like you see the nigga get fucking
No, but
knocked out.
Oh
okay,
my
okay,
god, bro. Y'all gotta
wait.
stop with this stuff,
But
dick.
okay,
Dog, it's
no,
not the
wait,
wings.
we
Chris.
gotta
Like,
stop.
stop.
I got a
Whoa,
great
guys.
example.
Keep
Wait,
talking
I got
about
a
it.
great example. I got a great counter to that because you talking about that. I mean, we very clearly saw Steph in the 18 and 19 Rocket series get pushed off the ball in those actions, and he did struggle. Had some of his worst series that he's ever
But
had in his
still,
career.
shooting
No,
low.
no,
That's
there
because
is no still.
off
There is
the
no
ball,
still.
though.
There isn't no. But what?
He won't struggle to dribble. If you're
No, I'm not
staying in
talking
front of
about
him
that.
at
No, you're
30
arguing
feet,
something different. You're arguing something different. Don't gaslight me. You're arguing something different. I was talking about KD's ability to move off ball, and that's what you just countered. You said,
I wasn't
"Oh,
talking
well, what's that?" No, but you just said Steph. You just said when Steph moves off.
But I was
Steph moves off ball.
mostly talking about how when KD couldn't even get to his spots, like you can't give him the ball and tell him
So
to
Ash, I'll
drive
tell
by
you,
your defender.
here's my counter to that because that's a very fair point. So in the 2018-19 and even 17-18 Rocket series, Steph did struggle. He struggled offensively. The Rockets switched a lot. They were switch heavy. They were extremely physical off the ball. They took a page out of the 16 Thunders book, who did kind of employed a similar defense or defensive strategy. And Steph struggled. His numbers suffered. But the reason, and I'm gonna give you the answer. This answer is valid, but you may disagree. But what this is what happened for the I cut off. Um,
Did he?
yeah, I
lag?
cut off.
Did
I
he
cut off.
lag?
He
All
back.
right.
He back.
So from 2017 to 2018, right? Or I'll say from 2017 to 2019, the way the Rockets played the Warriors was different than almost any other team. And what the Warriors did was because they were primarily motion driven, they devolved into a more isolation-oriented style of offense, particularly Kevin Durant. If you watch
Bro,
if you watch that 17-18 Rockets series, right, and you watch how KD approached and how the Warriors approached that offense, they weren't, because the Rockets cut off a lot of the actions. They said, okay, KD, you're gonna cook one-on-one because KD wasn't getting doubled, but Steph and Clay were taking out the series because of how they were guarding. So Steph and Clay leaned into KD cook, and that's what happened. And then 18-19, the same shit happened. So I get what you're saying, right? You make a good point. Like,
No, Dre, I've heard that argument plenty of times.
okay,
Right? Me and Najee, we've talked about it, on a millennium. Like I definitely agree with you for the 19 series, right? That definitely did happen, right? I think for 18 though, especially when Steph was clearly like a lot more aggressive in that 18 series. Like you were just kind of seeing it. Like I'm once again, I'm not really referring to like Steph's production or anything. I'm mostly just talking about how when Steph was moving off the ball, he wasn't getting to the same spots, similar to how KD wasn't being able to get to his same easy open 15-foot baseline catch and shoots. Same way Steph wasn't able to get into his easy shots. Why? Because the Rockets were aggressively pushing him out of his spots, were aggressively switching high and up on all of his screens to make sure they could forcefully beat him to his spot and make sure he wouldn't have a wide open three or something.
sounds like
That's
Wait,
all
I
I'm
got a
saying.
question
somebody
though.
did
That's all I'm
to
saying.
KD.
So-
I think
So
that's
what I would say to that
on
is
the ball, right?
what
On
Wouldn't
ball Steph,
it-
like
the way Steph approached those series was as the second option. Like KD was the first option in those series in terms of here's the ball, get a shot up, like ISO or make a play if you see bodies. But generally, he would just get shots up. High volume.
Yeah, but there was a lot of like I don't know how long it's been since you watched the series, but I recently watched the series like what 2 months ago, and I was seeing a lot of Steph coming up the court and rushing like a lot of deep early shots because he did not want to see that half court defense have to constantly switch and take them out of possessions, especially when KD was off the floor, right? Like I get what you're saying, and there is some validity to it, but I'm not gonna like act as if Steph wasn't struggling even with the reduced role, the quote unquote reduced role he had as an offensive player. His playmaking was really
I was
insane
gonna say
that series.
something about that though. Shouldn't KD be given less leeway with that type of defense? Because he's just a bigger player than Steph.
What do you mean
Steph is
less
tiny.
leeway? What are you talking about?
Like so when we talk about, you brought up the argument how when people were physical with Curry too, he struggled, which I think he's like done greatly.
Oh,
to adapt
KD's
to
a
defenses
skinny
like
ass
that.
nigga.
Wait,
I mean,
no, but still,
that's what it is.
no, facts. But at the end of the day, KD's a bigger player than Steph. You see a lot of most of the time, KD uses
KD
his
is
size
not
to score.
stronger than Steph. He's
I
not
said
stronger
big,
than Steph.
it's about
bigger. What
balance.
the
It's
fuck
about
did I say
center of
stronger?
gravity.
I
No,
said
but yeah,
bigger.
KD's center of gravity is very fucking weak. So a guy like PJ Tucker, who's like 6'5" and has a very strong build, can just push him off of his spot easier than a guy like Steph.
The correct wording there, sorry, would be center of gravity is very high. Like he's a physical.
Whatever. I don't really care, you nerd.
Yeah, that's why your balance is worse when you're like that tall, and that's why it's just inherently way harder for a 7-footer to dribble and to be as agile as like a Steph on the ball, right? That's why I think the biggest difference between them is on the ball. Like when Steph's a threat from like 30 feet and KD's not. So like when you draw that type of defensive attention from 30 feet, it's a lot different. People don't consider that a lot.
So when Steph got guarded relatively similar to KD, the nigga struggled. But
I mean, he adapted though.
But
KD
had
didn't.
KD to
I
come.
think the key thing there is more like
Okay.
Steph was able to in the years after. I feel like we've seen Steph grow to handle
Yeah.
the physicality from
When
defenses.
he faced that though, name when he faced because he
The
did.
first time,
Yeah, Steph hasn't
be
really.
20.
I mean,
Like,
because the Grizzlies series is like the last physical defense he's really played, and he wasn't really like amazing in
I would
that
say
series.
Memphis was
He was
definitely
still
physical.
good though.
He
I think
struggled.
you're exaggerating.
He was good.
struggle.
He was good, but he wasn't. Okay, I'm not. Okay,
But
let me not say
KD
struggle. He wasn't at the level
even able
that
to win a
you're
game.
trying to say.
Like I know he's still
Yeah,
got
but
a good
Steph's better than
offense.
KD. I'm not making that argument.
And
I'm just saying
Memphis
that like
even
all I'm
Austin
my whole
over
Also,
argument,
wasn't
this is my whole
here.
argument. Let me say this one more time. My argument is that KD is not the only player. And well, no. Let me phrase this better. Steph, despite his elite, all-time goated off-ball movement, right, is not. He doesn't get excluded from these type of arguments and
He's
conversations.
not invincible.
Yeah, that's what
Ever.
I'm saying. He's not invincible. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know where this
100%.
why
But
I'm being
everyone
disputed
has
with this
flaws.
when I
Everyone
bring
has flaws. Every
evidence.
player has flaws.
No, but
To- wait,
I'm
to
saying
where?
so I'm saying bringing that excuse up for or that flaw for KD in a series like
I never
Boston
said the
is
Well,
unfair.
I think it's mostly.
I wasn't
just,
referring
like,
to you.
dribbling.
I was
Yeah,
referring
yeah.
to Mil.
Like KD struggles against physical defenses and Steph doesn't. That's incorrect. But if you're saying,
Facts.
oh, KD struggled against a physical defense and that highlights something that he struggles with as a player, that I think is a fair argument.
Yeah,
I don't
that's a fair
I
argument. Yeah.
can't speak to what other people in this space are trying to argue, but for me, that's what I've been like trying to point to is like how is Boston's defense affecting KD and showing what some of his weaknesses are. Like obviously Steph struggles with the same things. He struggled with physicality his entire career. Like if you look at all those Cavs series,
I don't.
they were always like,
I think
especially
it's mostly switching that he was talking about, like a switching
Also,
defense. That
I just want to say, like, I don't know if I'm tripping. Like, maybe I have to rewatch the Boston series against the Nets. But to see KD not really adapt over 4 whole entire NBA games is kind of crazy.
He did in
Like, I
game
feel
4,
like
by the way, but whatever.
didn't he still struggle that game?
Nah,
He
he had
scored a
He
lot.
did. He did better.
had like
lots of points, but on a lot of
struggled, I
volume.
guess, but
He
he
started
was
attacking a lot
significantly
quicker.
better.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't-
he did. To say he didn't adapt, like you didn't watch games 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's what I said. I might have to
And-
rewatch.
Yeah, you didn't watch
and,
it.
and
bro.
and he still led the best offense. Like Giannis didn't lead as good of an offense. No, I'm not saying he's better than Giannis, but he still led a good offense. Like KD was just because they were paying him so much attention and he hasn't seen that much. He had way more gravity than he's ever had, basically, right? But he and his teammates were cooking. Like Goran was like cooking for a bit. I mean, they had a 117 offensive rating, and that's pretty impressive. But like,
Cooking is a stretch. Cooking is a stretch. Cooking is a stretch.
What do you mean?
no, I'm saying Goran. Goran was cooking
Relative to what
in that
Boston was
series.
presenting, they created the best looks. Like we weren't able to create any looks. The Bucks weren't able to create any looks. The Nets were legit able to consistently get a look that they wanted, a look that was advantageous.
And also to Steph's point, like Steph has grown as like a player who's been able to beat these type of switching and physical defenses in 18 and 19 or whatever you want to use. He has shown that he's grown in that department. So
I do think, like I was saying this when it happened. I do think that like some of the criticism of like KD against the Celtics, while a lot of it is like earned, like some of it ignores a lot of stuff that if it was for other players, we would not be ignoring it. Like if any other player played the 4 games that KD
say his name, Eli. Just say his name.
No,
Kyrie?
No. I'm saying
No,
No,
if you let me
James
finish,
Harden.
you would get what I'm
It's
saying.
James Harden.
I wasn't gonna say Harden.
But it is Harden though.
What I was gonna say is if any other player like played the 4 games that KD played, just like separate the 4 games from each other because obviously in succession it makes it look worse. Like each of those games, niggas will be talking about how fucking KD was having a playmaking masterclass, but because he's not known for that, it doesn't get fucking talked about. It's so stupid. It's the same with like Steph when he does something good on defense. It just gets completely ignored because of like he's not primarily known as a really good defender.
The narratives. It's all the narratives. Like people watch with biases. And honestly, like one thing I just wanted to say the whole day I've been requesting, the biggest thing that I just haven't even seen anyone talk about is just the mere fact that our biggest problem, like Steph fans and Warrior fans, our biggest problem with KD or the whole situation was that in 2017 and 18, when guys like me were saying Steph is still the best player, the impact metrics showed it, like lineup data showed it, everything showed it, but we would get laughed at and we would get called crazy, right?
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Back then that was the narrative. Like you would literally be called insane if you thought Steph was even Harden was nationally known better. And you guys, Dre was talking about it.
I agree with.
And that's my biggest problem is that Steph's like legacy's been tarnished by fucking Skip Bayless and like Max Kellerman and all these like dumbasses with their bullshit narrative.
What was you about to say, little bro?
Why do you care about their opinions, bro?
Whose career
I
hasn't
don't
been
care
messed
about
up by
their
that?
opinions. I just care when people like us would get called crazy that we have like an objectively valid opinion, right?
But that's not
And
an excuse
Steph
to
was
act like
better the whole
obnoxious
time.
assholes that y'all do now, though.
No, that's wildly ironic.
You're just generalizing a lot of people together.
I'm not, because Steph is my favorite player, and like y'all really make me not even want to be a
Did you
Steph
just
That's
fan
just
cap.
lie?
because y'all
You
are
did
Shut
that
up,
just
damn
to
lie.
say
Yeah,
that
Yo,
you
come
don't
In
on,
want to
nah,
20
be
you're
a
not. We're
fucking
not about to
lie,
sit here
nigga.
and cap, nigga.
I'm
in
saying,
What are you
nigga,
talking
We're not
about?
about to sit here and
Nigga,
do
I
that,
heard.
nigga.
Nigga, I heard how you reacted when KD came in that room. I was ready to
oh,
come in that room.
cook him,
Don't
cook
tell
him,
me
Hey,
KD not your
yo.
favorite player, little
cook
bro.
him, cook him.
Nigga, I told that nigga to his face that Steph is better. I don't give a fuck,
Mid
bro.
off, mid off.
in 17 and 18, did you think that? And 19, did you think
Hell
that Steph
yeah,
was
I
what
better?
the
thought.
fuck?
I thought 18 KD was like the better player, mainly just
Steph was
because
injured in the playoffs.
injuries and shit. Yeah.
That's fair.
I
But
think Steph's been better since 2016. Like, I don't even think it's an argument.
2015, everyone,
I don't know
like
about
Wes
15.
was saying earlier that there was no argument Steph was the better player there. Like, what? He was the unanimous fucking MVP. I was like, what the fuck was he talking about? And he was the MVP the year before. And he's like the last MVP to actually win a title, I think. Since, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of niggas is lying, bro. I wasn't as smart as I am right now in 2017. I definitely thought KD was better.
Yeah, I
Same.
thought I thought
Same.
Eli was
That's
It's
better.
because
another.
you're
Hey, yo,
younger, and that's what I'm saying.
shout out to
That's
Eli.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Shout out to Eli for a minute, because the other reality
Lo, you were
is
one
that,
of them, by the way. You need to
and
admit
no,
that.
and I'm
'Cause
not,
you
and, and
lying
I'm
ass
not,
nigga.
and let me be clear. What I'm about to say is still applies to me
What
as
I'm
well,
talking about. Yeah.
bro. The way that all of us contextualize basketball in 2016, 17,
Yep.
and 18 is
Yep.
drastically different from how we contextualize it now. And I don't give a fuck how old anybody was. There's no way you were properly assessing what was
Mhm.
occurring back then, because the game was changing at a pace that we had never fucking seen. So when you're sitting here, because you can just go back and rewatch the finals and look at the articles, and they're still assessing efficiency with field goal percentage.
Yep.
They're still solely looking at playmaking with how many
Facts.
assists that you
Assists.
get.
Yep.
They're still talking about Iguodala was the best defender without looking at how complicated the schemes were with not only doubles that they were sending, but also the level of